Here we go, guys. Another episode of Altitude and Trails podcast, and here we are with our guest, Micheal. For the Instagram followers, is huntingfamilyman. And hi, Micheal. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's this late podcast tonight. We are recording pretty late. It's what time is this? Why 11
But
o'clock? Yeah, first time
yeah,
we're
I know.
recording a little late. That's I love it.
Yeah,
So, guys, Micheal, it's I met Micheal March, end of March, right? It was end of March
yeah. End of March 19.
19, and yeah, it's now we're is a close friend, but today I invited him to talk about a little bit outdoors. We're gonna announce what kind of topics tonight. But I have to introduce a little bit Micheal because you have to understand what kind of relationship we have, me and him. So he came and we have a great time. The hunting was perfect, and yeah, there was just a little issue. And when Micheal just proposed himself to just go ahead and prepare the dinner, and he checked about what the stuff I had in the kitchen, and he said, "Yeah, no worry, I mean, I'm gonna prepare just like I'm gonna be in charge about the dinner. Don't worry." And I said, "Yeah, nice." And he took my only bag, last one remaining of spaghetti, Italian spaghetti. That was my delicious spaghetti. That was the one of the best Italian brand. And in France, it's not that easy, to find a good one like this. But so he was in front of boiling water, and then he looked at me and said, "Oh, anyway, are you ready? We're gonna have dinner." And so he took the spaghetti like that, the spaghetti at this length, I don't know how many centimeters, but and it just broke in front of me and put in the water. So that was heart attack for me, and I didn't know how to communicate my because we just knew each other probably 3 days. That
That's
was
true.
like what? And suddenly I saw images of my father and my mother that saying, what is happening? You're Italian, so how do you allow someone doing that in your house? Anyway, bad
Pushing,
adventures.
pushing the boundaries, man.
So, so today we're talking about hunting, not cooking, not clean meat on the way because it's not possible with it. So, okay, let's hear a little bit, Micheal. So, how did you get into the hunting?
Well, it started actually by playing video games. Me and my one of my best friends, we played a lot. I was a avid gamer, and at one point, gaming just didn't do it. We were playing shoot 'em ups, and the next thing would be okay, how do we actually get out into the real world and do some of this? So the plan was to get into shooting, long range shooting, and we never got into that because we kind of just stopped at hunting. So 10 years ago, got the license, got the rifle, shot my first deer. I think it was the same year. Um, yeah. We had a little place in Jutland, and we came in with the car. It was minus 14, and it was blowing hard and snowing. And so we were low crawling to the spot, knowing nothing, just freezing like you wouldn't believe. And within an hour, we had shot two. And then we went back to the house and celebrated. But man, those early experiences, just knowing nothing, everything is new, man, that was awesome. Getting all that. And since then, it's been mainly bow hunting. Got into bow hunting 8 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
I started shooting the bow and pretty much haven't touched the rifle since. So that was the in-laws that got me into that. They're big bow hunters and goose hunters, so it's been an amazing journey. And also how got me connected to you and so a lot of other cool people. So,
Yeah.
and it's been awesome.
Yeah, been awesome. So my idea today is to talk a little bit, yeah, the trip that we had together, and especially the species that we were chasing, actually were roe deer. Why? Because I see that there's a long young people that send me messages and ask me how you start, and then where what to hunt, and how. So roe deer actually represent a species that it's affordable, right? And it's allow you to start to have the first, situation where you have to plan a strategy, and then you cannot just rush into just go there and hunt. You need to understand a little bit the land. You need to understand how these animals behave, and but at the same time, it's a good start. So what do you think about roe deer? It's something that it's a good for a start. It's a what do you think about that? It's just like if you are a young guy that want to start the hunt, it's just like the right species to go ahead, or just
Yeah, I think that roe deer is a very good entry animal. It has, I'm not sure how to put it, but sure, bird hunting is cool as well. But for me, as a new hunter, I don't think a bird would have given me the same elation that getting the roe deer did. And it's such an iconic species.
yeah,
And like you said, it's affordable. Here, pretty much everything is private land, but there are opportunities. So you can band together with other people, get your own area, or I'm not sure what the English word for it is, but where you're multiple people that share a piece of land
yeah,
that you hunt on.
yeah, yeah. So in Denmark, it's a little bit like France. There is public land as well, but it's I mean, you need to be to apply into hunting society to allow to be there, or there is the different. It's like a community. You can get the right to hunt inside that
Yeah,
land. So so let's see the, for example, we can talk about our trip that we had together. And
yeah, sure.
anyway, the roe deer was the species that we were chasing. And actually, that was interesting because you were new to the land.
Yeah,
And did you find a
it
difference?
was.
Did you find a difference between your style of hunting in Denmark and the style that we had during the trip here in France?
Yeah, because before that trip that I had with you, I basically never stalked before. I've
Okay.
pretty much been in a high seat 24/7. Um, I've been doing a little stalking, but I suck at it. I love it to bits, but I'm not the best one. I need to learn how to slow down more and use my binos more, and I have improved in that area for sure.
Yeah.
But the hunt that we had and the amount of miles that we did just on foot and through all the different areas that you had in your area, man, it was amazing with doing that and seeing as many animals as we did
Yeah.
was truly amazing, man.
Yeah, that was amazing. And actually, I have to say that stalking it's pretty difficult, especially in a road deer. You can say that it's an affordable. It's a good species that you can start with, but it's really difficult to approach, especially this type of hunt.
Oh
So
yeah.
we are talking about stalking and even bow hunting together. It's, I think,
Mhm.
one of the most difficult probably. But
I think
but
you're right.
but we had good encounter actually. You remember that we started as you people could watch. We're gonna put the link of our YouTube video that we did. We film it and we document all the days that we while we were hunting, and actually we got a pretty cool encounters. And we started with the two males that were just running, that just passed
Yeah,
like what 10 meters from
yeah,
from
something like that. It was crazy, dude, and especially because of the ground we were walking on was just so noisy. It was walking on a bag of chips everywhere. So getting him that close was totally unexpected because of the noise that we were
yeah,
making because of that.
all the
But
dead leaves.
they were
Yeah,
so preoccupied with that fight
yeah, yeah,
that They
Yeah.
didn't have any idea where we were.
Yeah, that was just chasing each other, and we started. Yeah, that's the period when they really are territorial. So they defend their area, and they cannot stand the presence of another male.
Yeah.
And we found a lot of sign on the ground. You know, the scratches that the
Oh
roe
yeah.
deer they did. So that there was a proof that actually the air was full of males. So we encountered those two males, and then we moved to another area, and it was the big group with females and the other 2 3 males probably. They just like we didn't see actually, and then run all over the place
Oh
because.
yeah, that was cool.
And so, what is the most fascinating things that you experience hunting roe deer?
The most fascinating thing. Well, I can't put my finger down on a single hunt in that regard, but it's probably about the animal itself because you can be looking at a field with your binos, and like the second you look away, they're just there. Like you have no idea
Yeah,
where they came from. Sometimes they're just
yeah,
there,
yeah,
and and still they're so alert. It, one false move and they're just gone.
yeah,
You need to do so many things right to get close to them. So it's just such an accomplishment when you actually are able to connect with an arrow on them. It's such a great feeling right there
yeah.
because you overcame their senses. You're in their backyard. You bested them at what they're best at, and they pretty much sense-wise, they just beat you on every level.
Yeah, and especially during the trip, actually, I have to say that I was impressed about which kind of the sensors they used the most, because actually the sound, yes, I mean, it's important to not make any noise, especially when you want to achieve an approach that you need to get into. Our range was what, 30 35 meters, something that we decided was acceptable for a shoot. But
Mm,
what we experience is that their sight, it's unbelievable.
it
It's
is. They
unbelievable. It's
see
just,
movements so good.
that's like you move your arms, you move your leg, or and they can just like lock on your shape and say that's a danger.
Yep.
No,
Boom. And
boom,
then
and
they're gone.
then spook.
They're not chancing it.
Yeah. So and I remember that different different times I have experienced that. For example, that was a close range, and I would say that okay, and the roe deer was not looking at me, but even a movement like it just putting down my shoulder or just my body to grab something, boom, and the roe deer
Boom.
just
Yep.
turned to you and then fixed to what you are and try to understand it. So yeah, it's a kind. Sometimes this bow hunting really is a game of chess. You do the wrong movement and you are done. There's no second chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why
Oh,
bow hunting.
remember? Yeah, remember the one that we came close to? Well, not close. It was 60 or 70 meters. We just came through the pines into
Yeah,
the bit more open area, and we
yeah.
spotted that one buck at like 60 and 70, and it
Oh
looked
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much at well, it looked
That was
at
amazing.
us, but just standing still,
Yeah, yeah.
and it just moved on, not a care in the world at that point.
And
That
that's
was
why I'm
such
saying
a
to you that actually the noise we were walking on dead leaves.
Mhm.
And I think at that distance you could have perceived our noise, but then we stopped and it was like just broadside, like 60 meters away, and then we completely stopped and we didn't do anything. But then, yeah, because I wanted to take the scene, so I moved the camera a little bit. As soon as I understood there was something wrong into the landscape that was moving in the wrong direction, boom, we
Yeah,
busted. So yeah, this is really, really, really fascinating species. And then
yeah,
anyway, guys, Micheal got his first day. First day, he got his row back. But again, this is another part of the discussion here. So what happened at the moment of the shoot, because that is kind of really, really, really interesting.
Well, we decided on an ambush point
Yeah,
before dark, and I think we were there at about 6:30,
yeah, it was a
7-ish.
lot earlier. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
yeah,
And you found a very good spot right there. We were surrounded by trees, and we had
yeah,
an open field in front of us.
yeah.
And we were sitting around, what was it, 30 meters from each other, something like that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
35.
probably less. I think probably less. I was just
Yeah,
in front of you, like you were surrounded by this like 3, 4 trees. They're making like a cage
yeah,
around you, and then I was just
yep,
in front of you, sitting on the ground. Yeah, and yeah, go on.
yeah. And I spotted the buck behind you, moving towards the field. And from my position, it was at about 70 meters, I think, at that point.
Yeah, and I saw
And then he
completely
moved
change
out.
in you, completely change, because you were just like, all your body moving in a fluid way. When I saw you, that you say, "Oh, there's a bug," oh, all your body was like, "Thump," was like Robocop, was like, jeez. No, you didn't expect that.
No, no,
Yeah,
not at all, man. And then it just came toward me out in the field and was at 35, 36 meters. And there was a little opening between
yeah,
the trees
yeah,
where it passed and just stopped right there. It was We were so extremely lucky at that point. It stopped right there. Sent the arrow. It
yeah.
was a very lethal shot.
But before that, you remember that actually you drew your bow,
Mm,
and it was really not that, the alignment was looking at you, and you drew your bow, and actually the buck, I had a tree that was covering me, and I started to spot the roe deer from my left side, and then he passed just behind me. It was like, what, maybe 50 meters from me, something like
yeah,
that.
not that much more.
And then you drew the bow, and I saw you drawing the bow in my direction. I say, "Oh my gosh, let's just hope that it's not gonna have a torque. If it's gonna have a torque, it's gonna be in the middle of my chest." So I say, "Anyway, trust Micheal." Anyway, at that moment I could not do anything else. So I said, "Trust Micheal." And then, I mean, that draw was not good, because actually he started to move. I don't remember, or the window was not good enough.
Um, yeah, he kept moving, and there were some branches in the way as well. So I let down
Yeah,
at that point, and then when he came closer to my position,
yeah,
I drew back again when his head was behind the tree,
yeah.
and he stopped at 36, and then I released the arrow,
Boom. That
and
was boom.
it connected.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
connected pretty well, man, because he just moved into the open field instead to move inside. But it's a normal reaction, because the arrow came from the inside of the bow, of the wood. But yeah, that was actually really, really intense, because what happened? He just had a huge jump string,
yeah, he dug
huge.
pretty bad. He dug pretty bad,
Yeah,
and he also turned
yeah,
a little bit. So I hit him pretty high, but I took a big artery.
yeah, yeah. In the
Um,
kidney area.
yeah.
So,
So
because actually, what happened is, like, the roe deer, a standing broadside, you wave it with his body. So pushing the back part of his body where the thorax was, and
yep,
then that's why you took the kidney, and then actually that was the kidney part. It's, you have all the big vessel,
yep.
and yeah, the shot was lethal. He died in what, less than a minute.
15, 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And we're also lucky with the video right there because
yeah,
sometimes they just bolt. They
yeah,
just run like there's no
yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah, yeah,
But this guy, he just circle around a little bit and stayed in focus in the camera and just laid down like
Yeah.
boom, 20 seconds and it was done.
It was amazing.
It was
Amazing. That was
pretty wild.
intense like, action. And then,
Yeah.
so that's roe deer. That's fascinating. Why? Because this is a small species. It's a small deer. But look
Yeah.
how much the feelings are pretty intense because of it's so skittish. So because you have to be so perfect into your approach, into planning strategies, that when you're successful, man, you just deserve it because you have to be just perfect.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It really is.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. So that was our first part of the podcast, and just like we're gonna switch another part a little bit because actually, Micheal, it's someone that tests gear.
I do that from time to time.
And it's
I do that
kind
from
of
time to
accurate, guys. So that's with link to roe deer, and that's we're still into the bow hunting roe deer. And just want to ask Micheal, in terms of equipment, in terms of clothing, what he found the best after testing all this equipment that he did till now.
Well, what I used on the hunt we had, because man, we came through a very wide range of temperatures.
Yeah.
When we started in the morning, we had at one point -7, and we hit at a high note, I think 22, something like that.
Yes, yeah.
Plus 22 Celsius.
So there was a big delta.
Yeah, pretty much. And for this trip, I actually only brought the Apex pant from Sitka.
Yeah.
So I had to borrow your base layer.
Yeah.
It was a pretty thick base layer, but that base layer and that Apex pant got me through the whole day with no trouble. And that was because we were moving. If we were still hunting in those temps that we started out in, I would have brought something completely different.
Yeah.
Because that would not be suffice for sitting still for multiple hours, for sure. But I brought it was the Sitka mid layer as well.
Yeah.
Not mid layer. It's the thicker mid-weight base layer.
Yeah.
That is like my go-to because it's so versatile for most things. When it's really warm, I would have brought the lightweight one for moisture management. But here, because it was so cold normally, that was good.
Yeah.
On top of that, I had a fleece layer.
Yeah.
And when we started out in the morning, I also brought the Kelvin Light jacket, a puffy jacket, and then the Jetstream with the wind blocker.
Okay.
But when within like 1 and 2 hours, I would drop the puffy jacket because then I had enough warmth. Because we weren't really doing a hard hike or anything. We were slow stalking through the forest, so we had a pretty low activity level. But for most, as a general rule, I use a thin base layer. Then I have a couple of fleece layers lying around that I can use depending on the situation I'm in. I will pretty much always have a puffy jacket no matter what, and some kind of wind stopper.
Okay.
I think that is pretty important. I don't have just a super lightweight wind stopper thing. You have a jacket like that, and I would like something equal to that.
Yeah. Okay.
The one I have is the Jetstream jacket, which has a fleece lining, and it provides some extra warmth, and I use that also extensively.
Yeah.
But for here, the Apex system was my go-to, and then I layered beneath that, and then I had the puffy and the Jetstream jacket on, and I then took stuff on and off depending on if we were stopping or it got hot or what it was. So I kept regulating my temperature, and at no point was I too hot or too cold during our trip.
Nice.
So get a system that works for you, and I like the layer system. It's what I like, and I've been using Sitka myself for about 6, 7 years now. So that is my go-to. But
Okay.
I I can't say that one brand will cover will work for everybody. There's a lot of good brands out there that makes a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I just like the fit of Sitka.
Yeah.
It fits me well and it's well thought out. So that is
Yeah.
mainly my go-to.
Yeah. Makes your hunt easier, or just like you feel more comfortable.
I feel more comfortable, and also when I don't have to think about my gear
Yeah.
because I know it works,
Yeah.
then I can
That's
concentrate more.
exactly.
Just be more in the hunt. Is like I know this will work for me, so I just put that on and then ready to move on.
Same here. Same here. That's I think it's the most important thing. That just the gear. It's when you check, when you know what things, what kind of items you need, and then you
Yeah,
trust them. When you're on the field, your attention, your brain, it's towards like the game. So you don't have
yeah,
to care about if you pass through that vegetation, or probably if you're crawling, something's gonna happen to your pants or your jacket. That's is not gonna make you comfortable. It's not gonna make you focus on what you're doing. So that's the same thing you did actually work for me, because I feel really frustrated. For example, even when I bend down, when I move my legs, when I'm always you have a different position sometimes. Depends how
yeah,
you're hunting. And then when you feel like, this the leg is a little bit tight there, I can't do the movement really well.
mm,
That for me it's off. I
yeah,
can't go ahead like that.
yeah. When you've been through a lot of different gear, you just all the little things that annoy you in something will just get so much bigger over time. So if there's something that doesn't truly fit or there's a slight annoyance for me, I
Yeah,
just won't use it because I know it will grow over time. But when that is said, do you need Sitka gear for everything? No. When you're starting out and if you're on a budget, well, no, of course not. You can get along with very few items.
yep,
You may suffer a little bit, and we've all been there.
yeah, yeah,
Man,
yeah,
all suffered with the early gear that we used.
yeah,
And also with some of the Sitka gear I had. I only had the Stratus system at one point, and I used that from -25 to +25. Of course, with layers underneath when we were getting real low in temperature. But when you suffered through that, then everything else is almost just a joy.
yeah. Totally true. And then what I think is just like as you said, you can start for a couple of articles that you get familiar with that, try to understand how they're performing with you, and then probably just there is a little bit money to invest into that. But I can tell that, for example, I have some mountain pen from open country from Sitka. When I started to get pictures, when I was doing wildlife photography, I was no hunting, so I got those pants because I could not find something that was fitting me, like giving me that that situation that I could just think about what I'm doing and not just the pants is not right. I just tie here and I bought that, I don't know, a long time ago. I was probably at university, and it's still today they're performing perfect. So I didn't buy so many other pants after that. So that
Yeah,
that means that money I spent that was spending for a good one instead of just 10 or 20 craps.
yeah.
So that's important. Um, yeah. So the gears. Okay, we're talking about clothing. I don't think we're gonna go into the bow hunting, like which bow, because I think we're gonna end it in finish this podcast in probably hours. But
Yeah,
but
probably.
then now we're gonna have a big jump, guys, a big jump. So Auntie Michael had this trip with me, Auntie family man. So anyway, Michael for the common people. Um, so and then in September he went to where you the big expedition that you got in 19.
Yeah, that was Colorado.
Colorado, guys. So that was a
Yeah,
huge. That's
yeah,
an extreme actually. That's from France. I'm thinking what 500 hectares. Yeah, more or less.
yeah.
That was the land that we were hunting, and then he moved to Colorado. So I want to really see the difference and how much is important for a hunter to once in a while or once in during his life to just like to understand how he's hunting and then compare himself with something totally different. So how the impact was the expedition in Colorado.
Oh man, it was one of the craziest, biggest, awesome experiences I've ever had. I was there with my sister-in-law,
Yeah,
pretty much just following her on this trip. She was the
let's
hunter here. I was,
say hi to hunting Steph. That hope she's gonna enjoy this podcast. Yeah, sorry.
and so I was pretty much just following along on her trip here, and just arriving in Denver airport gave us a shortness of breath because of the altitude. So we had no time to acclimate. We got picked up by a guide and headed to the outfitter, was gathered some gear, and then a few days after that, well, also hunting Steph needed to learn how to ride a horse.
Oh, she
So there
never
was
ride a
that
horse
thing.
before.
No, she didn't.
What about you?
So, well, once in on a guided tour in Hawaii on a horse that was pretty much just it just went on its normal trip. It just did what it did. It did that trip like 1,000 times, so it would probably went for that trip without me on it.
But that was riding
So
on a mountain, right? That was
not in Hawaii, but in Colorado it was.
yeah. I mean
So
Colorado. That was the plan was using horses to get up.
yeah,
Okay, wow.
yeah. So we drove from the outfitter about 1.5 hours to the trailhead, and then headed out with horses. And I think he said we were, was it 5 or 7 miles into the backcountry, and then they had a main camp there
Okay.
set up already. And the first day, well, yeah, the first day we just arrived and put our stuff down, went hunting, and the guy called in a elk cow. Is that what it's called? Elk cow?
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think so.
Yep.
And and he also, then we heard bugling around us as well. And apparently, the guy said, "Well, we got hunters here because there was hunters above us bugling. They're responding to his elk call."
It was another hunter.
There were four of them. We found out.
Wow. Wow.
So hunting Steph drew back and sent an arrow, and it was straight and true and punched dead center in a tree just in front of the cow.
Oh
So
wow.
she killed the tree on the first day, and then
Yeah.
we
Not not
met
much
up
to
with
eat
these
there,
four
but
other hunters.
I mean that things happen.
Yeah,
Things happen like that.
and
It's normal.
then yeah, back to camp after that. And during the night, the temperature dropped to -10, I think 7 or 10,
That's a
and
lot.
before the trip, it was also, I had no sleeping bag, I had no tent. I knew we would be sleeping and stuff. I had no sleeping pad. I have no backpack. So I was like, okay. It just dawned on me how little gear I actually have for a backpacking trip, and I've never been on one. So it's like,
Yeah.
what do you actually bring here? So I borrowed a pack, won a sleeping bag, sleeping pad in a contest, and hunting staff had a sleeping bag for one for her and one for me. And I'm not sure what temperature it went down to, but I was freezing my ass off the first day.
That's not a
But
good
during
feeling.
No.
No.
And again, there's a whole science to being warm in a sleeping bag and all that. But man, I took this trip on like a week's notice. It was like, oh, so there was no preparation really, no prep time for this. I had no idea what we were doing. But during the night, we were waking up by a big bugle, and the guy just said, "Wow, we are going after that one in the morning if it's still here." He said that sounds like an old dinosaur.
Wow.
The next day, nothing, no
Just
sign of
disappear.
anything. Disappear, and nothing was responding.
Wow.
And I'm getting also the days mixed here, probably. So I can't remember if it was that day or next day. We decided to move further in,
Yeah.
and I think it was another mile and a half or 2 miles, and we were just going up and up and up, and man, shortness of breath for every step, because Denmark is flat, very flat, and just around sea level, and we were at around 11 to 13,000 feet.
Yeah.
So just, man, every step was just hard at
And
that point,
heavy.
especially for Steph. Yes, Steph was not as affected by the altitude as I was, but man, it was hard, no doubt about it. So you also doing a trip like this with somebody you've never hunted with in a situation like this. So this could be such a miserable experience, but it turned out to be awesome, because if I had been down and negative and just bitching all the time, or if she had, well, then this would have ruined everything for both of us in it.
So that's interesting
So
because you're saying that actually what saved the trip was the mental.
the mental thing, because if I got really down and saying, "Oh, it's so hard, I can't do this, I can't do this," well, that wouldn't help me. So
Yeah.
I tried to just focus on my next step, even though it hurt. It was like, okay, so this step hurt, but it hurt us just as much as the second step, and the step before, so it didn't hurt more. So my mentality was, well, the step before hurt, yeah, so you can take this one. The step
Nice.
before hurt, yeah, but you can take this one.
That's a good attitude,
And I did,
man. That's a good attitude.
and and I, and when the guide said, he probably said where we were going, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm gonna focus on this step in front of me, and the next one in front of me, and the next one in front of me, because if I had focused on, well, you need to walk 1.5 miles with a big ass backpack filled to the brim with stuff. I have no idea what it weighed. It was what we had, so I have no idea what it weighed.
But you were
Uh,
pretty packed, actually.
yeah, you could see the pictures, man.
Yeah, I
It
saw the
was
pictures. There was like at least 20, 25 kilos you had.
probably. Yeah, I had trouble lifting it. That
Wow.
doesn't probably say much, but it was hard. But also, altitude. I've never been at those altitudes.
Yeah.
I've never had such a heavy backpack on for so long. So everything was new and it was hard. So I tried to like make my world smaller, if you can say that, by not focusing on how long we needed to go. I was just focusing on my next step,
Yeah,
basically.
that's the best attitude because actually you're saying that you were not physically prepared for that.
Oh, not at all.
But
I was nowhere near.
your mental did all the job actually.
I think the mental aspect did a lot, and also that we weren't alone, because being alone with your thoughts, I don't think that would have been good out there.
Mm-hmm.
But having someone else to talk to, and feeding of each other on the positive attitude probably helped a lot.
Right.
But man, every struggle there was awesome afterwards. And as you know, I have some lower back issues after lifting some weights and stuff like that, but I had no lower back stuff when we were there, even with the big backpack and walking up and down and all that, it
It's
wasn't there for some reason.
it's kind of strange. I can tell you that
Yeah,
what I'm experiencing these days, it's I have this kind of strange lower back pain with the sciatica, and probably I have a compression of some vertebrae like L4, L5, I don't know. And then it's appeared that I actually not doing anything, no hunting with big backpack, not doing, no lifting, nothing serious. And then I thought, oh, in October I was in New Zealand, and there was a full month. I was hunting with a backpack that was between 18 to 25 kilos, dependent on the days, dependent on the different trips. And I didn't experience any pain. I mean, of course, it was tough, but I didn't have any pain when I was putting the bag down,
yeah,
was going back home. So I think it actually today it's I think more you move, especially for this type of problems, more you move, the better it is. Your muscle needs
I
memory.
think so.
Your muscle need train, constant train to keep a certain you know like they have to be tight. If they are not tight, they cannot hold those kind of structure in place. So and more you see it, more you do your sedentary routine life, and more you're gonna have issues. I'm sure about that.
Yeah. So yeah. Also, man, at one point there, we had made camp and we were getting water from creeks and stuff like that. And then the guide said, "Well, let's go on top of this mountain so we can look over two valleys and not just one." And man, going up there, it was big. It was a big scree field. Getting up, walking on that was a new one. Once I got up there, it was just I had my Nalgene bottle with. He had some energy stuff, the powder that you put into it.
Yeah.
So I was just pretty much just lying down, pounding that. I put on my my smock anorak thing, just laying up there.
Yeah.
And while I was laying there, they saw a mountain goat. I think it
Oh.
was yeah, pretty cool. It was pretty close, and if they were allowed to shoot it, she could probably have shot it with the bow. It was so close.
Oh, it was close. Wow.
Yeah. While I was lying there trying to recuperate, then we heard elk, and they
Yeah.
just came. The whole herd came into the valley, and there was
Oh.
just man, hands over feet trying to get down, and you also had to stay quiet. You need to move in the shadows, even though we're so far away. So we just followed his lead. I had no. So this is just me now talking like I know something here, but this is just me actually just retelling what he told us because I know nothing about it. So we just followed his lead on
Yeah.
it, and man, it just became too dark, and there was a whole field of big rocks that needed to be crossed, but it got too dark, so couldn't do anything that day. Then back to camp, got in the sleeping bag, and with the experience of just being so freaking cold, when we got back to camp, I started just by putting on a puffy jacket, drinking some water, got the hot meal, got in this. Also, of course, changed my base layers because they were damp and sweaty. Put them down in the sleeping bag. My logic there was just, well, maybe they'll dry out from body heat. I had no idea if that's true at that point. And then I took my anorak and wrapped it around my feet, and that helped. That helped a lot. So I was so comfortable that night. Probably also just dead tired, but that made the difference. So I wasn't cold that day. And then was next day. Keep mixing it up, but we went down into that valley after the elk, and then made camp at one point. And the guide said to me, "You should take a day here."
A
Because I
day.
was coughing a lot, and
Oh, a
he
day.
was afraid I was close to getting altitude sickness. That's what he said. I was like, I want to go, man. I'm here. I want to get everything out of it. But he said I should stay. He was
Okay.
afraid I was. He said he
Yeah.
was afraid I was to start coughing blood and stuff like that. So I stayed there in the tent listening to an audiobook, and she shot the elk that day.
Wow, you missed the action.
Yeah, I did.
Wait,
So
wait,
that
wait.
sucked. But
One second. There's just you stay uh, just by yourself a full day,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
and I
just
mean,
alone, and
okay, but that area
yeah,
it's bear free.
no, it's not. And he told us there was bears around. So me being me is like, yeah. So this is a new one. What are you gonna do? They're probably scared of you, but
You
what if
didn't
they're not?
you didn't have any weapon.
Well, I had a little knife, so I guess that's something. And I hear
You
afterwards, I
know,
heard from other hunters that's
G-
been there is like they're really not afraid of bears, not whatsoever, and carry nothing.
no, but
So
at least
guess we were safe. But
some security. But like guys, what I love of Michael, it's this Zen attitude. It's just if you want to represent Michael on the line, this is Michael. This is anyway.
that's true.
I stay a day. I was in Colorado. I took my day off in the middle of the mountain. Probably yeah, the bear was next to me, but I had a knife. So this is Michael. This is Michael. I can tell you guys because sometimes we had some game session, so we do a little bit of multiplayer, and I got excited so because I suck, so I try to fill that gap with excitement. Michael is like this, always like that. So guys, this is something that helps in hunting because getting emotion, getting feeling, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. It just allows you to panic more. So accept the situation and try to figure out what is the best that you can do. Like he said, step by step. That's good. That's a good attitude, man.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed. And yeah, a little bit sad that you didn't have the action, but at the end, she got a nice cow.
Yeah, she did. It was such an awesome thing when they returned because she had been up and down two or three mountains. I can't remember, but she was, and she went hardcore with the guide right there for sure. And she made it happen. She's a tough little cookie, that one.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
so when they came back, I was just over the moon that they've been able to shoot an elk, man. It was so cool.
Yeah, that was
And
pretty cool.
yeah, that was the only rain we had. That was that night. And then we went to get the elk the next day because she shot it just before dark.
Oh, so they didn't recover anything.
Uh, no, they shot
Okay,
it and left it, and then we went and got it the next day and
nice.
yeah, skinned it,
Yeah, so
cut it to pieces.
at least you were part of the process a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, that was cool. It was very
Nice.
cool to be part of that, and then left all the gear at the camp, put 2 quarters in the backpack, and then hauled that up the mountain. And that 2 quarters. I don't know how much meat from an elk people normally carry, but I thought it was a lot. For me, it was a lot with 2 quarters.
That was a good meat, that thing. That's a good meat.
Yeah,
Especially for a
I
cow.
would have.
From a cow, that's the best.
Yeah, I would love to tasted it, but we didn't get to taste it, unfortunately.
Oh, why? Because you have to, for what schedule? You have to leave?
No, we had an extra. When we came back, we had an was it 1 or 2 days? I can't remember. And the outfitter said, "Well, should we cook it?" But Steph was out hunting again mule deer, so I said, I don't know when they'll be back. So
Oh, okay.
that day we didn't, and then there was some hunters that hadn't shot an elk, so she donated a lot of the meat to them, so they had
Oh,
some meat
that's
to
nice.
get back home, and the other meat because there's apparent well the guide said, well, it's not the perfect pieces. Because there was a little bit of I think she nicked the stomach with the arrow. So, well, it doesn't taste the best when that happens, and blah blah blah. So, but we will love to taste it anyway because we never tasted elk.
Yeah, that was a good opportunity, especially it
Yeah,
doesn't happen every time for any European.
yeah,
So nice, nice. So actually, that Colorado expedition was so interesting, so much interesting into an expedition like that.
yeah.
So wow, that's guys, a big jump from the road here in France to Colorado. What an expedition like that it could ask you actually. That's a physical preparation is so key, but the mental actually makes everything. And Michael, you did pretty well at the end.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I thi- Coming from Denmark with no elevation and me not working out, me not being the pinnacle of of physical fitness,
Yeah,
not whatsoever. I'm pretty happy with the result
oh, that was amazing.
that I did right there, and
Yeah,
also the whole learning experience. Because going into that a backpacking hunt with no experience, no idea what to actually totally bring. Um, yeah, that was it was
but
fun.
but that was good even for your because you're testing gear. So that actually that expedition give you a different perspective in the gear that you're testing for example, these days.
I think so because the way I can test gear here is kind of limited to the styles we have here. It won't be tested like it would on a trip like Colorado. Well, I did bring the anorak, and so I got some different uses out of it that I would here. I would never thought in a million years to put the anorak around my feet here because, well, there's a house right next to you all the time.
Yeah. That's yeah, of course. It's a totally different matter. Nice.
So for
Okay.
me, I needed to do something different. So I tried something different, and that worked.
Yeah.
So okay,
Awesome, awesome. So man, we talked for 52 minutes. That was a long podcast, and it was I mean,
oh dude,
oh yeah, time went so fast, and it was pretty amazing. I hope that the viewers, that the other people will enjoy this because actually there are so many good points and probably inspiration for people that want to organize a future expedition in places like that, like Colorado, chasing elk or mule deer, whatever, or probably just get something in Europe close by, like a roe deer. Okay,
yeah,
so that's the different reality today. Okay, so thank you so much, Michael. That was nice, and probably who knows, in the future we're gonna make a podcast about how to not cut spaghetti and and follow the Italian rules in the kitchen. Anyway, thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. Thank you. It was a
have a nice one,
pleasure.
buddy.
Yeah, cheers.
Always a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.